I'm David Hunt, and welcome to The Art Hunter. My guest today is very whimsical with her art. It's magical, it's dreamy. It's like you lose yourself in the art, like you go off onto another plane. I love it. This Italian girl has great respect for Aboriginal artists and their art, but I feel that she works parallel with what they're doing. I don't even think she's even aware of it, although she is nodding, so maybe she is. So it will be a question I'll have to ask her. And here we go. I've known her now for a few years. She's stories about her in books, like you name it. She's got her own gallery, but we'll get to that, her own little workspace, and it's around the corner from where I live. Very handy. It's Enza Benincasa. Hello.
Hello, David.
And welcome to The Art Hunter.
Thank you very much.
When I was saying in your intro about that you run very parallel with indigenous art, and you were nodding, you agree?
Yeah, I think that I just naturally pick up with what's going on around us at the moment. I think it's very hard not to bring into your work things that influence us, things that are happening around us. And I've always sort of liked those dots and things since I was a kid, but I also identify with the deeper meaning that comes with Aboriginal art and the sense of space and their story of space. So I just naturally feel it, and without even knowing, it's sort of that look sort of enters into my art. But sort of it also has come from my my look into the city, because the city has got a lot of windows, and when I was painting the city, a lot of little dots came from the windows.
Right.
So it's a sort of something that just comes through as well.
But you're not copying Aboriginal art is in the dot work. It's just dots here and there, but they feature quite heavily. And you're very dreamlike as well. I find that, and we'll come back to that. But what I also mean by the respect that you have for Indigenous artists is that you often get excited when like there's a famous tree here in St Kilda.
The Nagaji tree.
Yep, that's over 300 years old, and it's on sacred ground, and it's a lovely spot that you can go and see this amazing tree. And you often paint that, and in the background is what's famously known as the Lego building here, which is so ultra modern and multicoloured. And then you had an Aboriginal elder in your gallery the other month, and you're inspired so much that you actually then went off and painted a river that she was talking about. Give us that story. Tell us that story.
Well, why I probably get excited about Aboriginal art is because I have a very deep connection to sort of my own spirituality, and to your background or where you come from, because my parents come from a little town called Cetara in Italy, and that's got a very long history. So I identify with that, going back to your own country, and explore and get answers to your own life stories. So I understand that, but the spirituality and also painting your story is sort of a similarity. But I think it's just a respect for our first people, and I just really just identify and really honour that. I just love it. It's like an internal part. So I am excited about it, and I'm very happy and lucky that we're living in St Kilda, where we know about our Aboriginal beginnings. But I've been working on I've always been doing things about the rivers as part of my artwork.
Is it a fetish? I would say it's a fetish with you. I'm joking.
I was thinking about that. So I've been doing work on the river, and then so I'd done a lovely huge work for a writer, Judith Buckridge, who's doing a book on the Yarra River, and she asked me to do paintings for her. So I did this huge work, and then by chance, this wonderful Aboriginal elder called Carolyn Briggs walked into my store with another lady from St Kilda. And I was so, I mean, I knew her name. So when she was introduced, I thought, that's Carolyn Briggs.
Yep.
Anyway, she looked so marvellous. She actually looked royal. And the colours she was wearing were so particular and refined, and it had a glitter about it. And she had this amazing lipstick on, and she just shone. So she sat there and told us stories about the Yarra, and that she's teaching at one of the universities about the Yarra River. So she told us about a few stories and about stories about billabongs. And then, so I was so happy when, you know, I was just like thrilled that she came into the store. That when she left, I was so like, oh my goodness, I thought I have to do a painting about it. Have to do a painting about her visit to commemorate her.
Yep.
So straight away I got out my big, I've been painting on drop sheets at the moment because I love their volume and
the grittiness of them, I suppose, yeah.
I just love that fabric.
Yep.
And so what I decided to do, because I was taken by all the colours that she was wearing, I decided that I would do a painting in honour of her, of the colours that she was wearing, but in the form of the river. So I quickly got, you know, and I did this painting, came out beautiful. And so yeah, from that event, I put it into my current artwork.
Right.
Yeah.
And has she seen it?
She has seen it through photos, and
Right.
so she was happy with that.
Right.
And yeah, and it's just a real joyous piece.
Yep.
I bring it out in my studio. If someone comes in, I show them all my artworks. I take them out because these huge, big pieces, I don't have the space for them, so I wrap them up beautifully with great respect because they're just gorgeous. And then when they come out, there's this great, woohoo, the river's out, and just the joy of my art.
There's a billabong one, a similar one as well, where you've even done a little map describing where the billabong is and what a billabong is, where it is, sorry, and what it is. How did that come about?
Well, Carolyn spoke about the billabongs,
Okay.
and she said that there's not many in Melbourne because of the built-up cities. They've had to cover up, you know, all the natural areas, the natural environment. So I looked it up, and it said we've only got 5 natural billabongs in urban Melbourne. So I decided to look them up, and the first one that came up was called Bolan Billabong, which is a great catchy name.
Yeah,
so I thought, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And it was in Bulleen, on Bulleen Road. And I thought, wow, I know that area because I used to go to the Veneto Club. It's an Italian Venetian club, very famous Italian club, popular, so many people go there. And I remember that when I used to go there, and friends of mine used to live around the corner, we would go down Bulleen Road, and there was just a little area, and always there would be soft mist coming up just off that area.
Yeah.
And there were some trees,
Yeah.
and it just held so much mystery amongst the normal road. And I always thought, I'm going to go back there one day because it's just calling you. And so I didn't know that that's what it was.
Yeah.
But in my research, that said that was Bolan Billabong, and it was the Yarra River was the river that used to, or that fills it up with water when it overflows.
Yep.
And so it's on the Bulleen Road and Veneto Club. And so I thought, when I decided to paint it, and also why I painted it, was there was an aerial view on Google and on the internet, and it showed a very nice shape, and around it was a purple like a purple line, but it was probably all the algae and everything.
Yep.
And I thought, that looks like a painting,
Yeah.
perfect, I've got to do it. So I did it, and it was just gorgeous to do. And then I thought, because I identified with that area, and also, we don't know where these places are, but it's right in our backyard.
Yep.
I thought, I've got to show people that it's just, you're walking by it.
Okay.
So I just put a little area, called it Yarra River and Birrarung Ma, which is the Aboriginal name for it. just to give it a little bit more insight, because it could look like, it's just looks like an abstract painting. But I just wanted to give a little bit of information for people to maybe want to know more, or just to let them give them an understanding of what that was.
Fantastic. One of the other areas that you get very, apart from painting rivers, which you've got a fetish about, is buildings. Like city skyscrapers with cranes.
Maybe that's another fetish.
What's that all about? Because I love city high rise. I love it, and what you do with it is quite special. And again, that very whimsical, magical, dreamy sort of feel to it.
I think that whimsical, magical feel to it is my own fantasy, a childlike fantasy that's sort of never left me since I was a child. So
Fantastic.
I actually see things through rose-coloured glasses.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter what there is, I can always see a positive or something lovely about it. But the buildings, well, I was born in North Melbourne, so that's the heart of the city. And I remember as a kid, I could see all the high-rise around, and we was close to the Victoria
Although that
Market.
was 100 years ago, they wouldn't be very tall back then.
I know.
Boom, boom.
I know. How time goes quickly. And so it was always around me, but I started particularly painting buildings when I went to RMIT, when I studied at RMIT University. And they were trying to see what maybe we were good at. So I remember one night they took us out onto the top of the building, and we were to paint the city at night.
Ah, lovely.
And so we were a bit in the dark.
Yep.
And so I was painting away.
Yep.
And, I did some nice things. But then I remember one of the teachers said, "Oh, that's fantastic," And I thought, oh, gee, maybe I should do buildings. So it wasn't a sort of a natural thing.
Okay.
I was triggered.
Right.
And I thought, oh, yeah, maybe I should do buildings. And in fact, I did some lovely buildings. And also, I wanted to bring, again, a sense of what I pick up from the space. So they're not just buildings, but I tend to feel, I pick up, or I've got good sensory stuff. So I wanted to tell my story about what I was picking up about the city, about the buildings, about the cranes that to me, is just like, they look like lines. But also they are these gorgeous, huge monsters, but they float like a ballerina in the sky. So I just wanted to capture that. So for me, it's like, it's telling my story through the visual. I also like to look at, past, present and future feelings and stories that I make up about the space that I'm in, about the city.
Yep.
Because, you walk by, just like that billabong story, you might walk by that and you don't even know what's there or what happened there hundreds of years ago.
Yep.
And in fact, hundreds of years ago at that billabong, now there's the Veneto Club clan, but before it used to be a major gathering site for the aboriginals of Melbourne.
Yep.
And and there they would gather before all the eels would head up to go north. They would go there and collect the ones that they were good, that they could eat, not the pregnant ones that had to do the journey.
Yep.
So they would gather there, so that was a major space. So we didn't know that. And now we just see the Veneto Club there or whatever. But if maybe someone tells a story, we can bring that past story back to our present and into the future. So you can look, I'm going to give you an example. We have a painting here of the Madonna, and I've called it Madonna in the City.
Yep.
And in that one, sort of some obvious scenes of looking at the past, which you can see down the bottom on the right-hand side. There's an old sort of Norman building, or I don't know what building that is, but that sort of stems back to my family's history. It's the past that I connect to. And I put that building there in the city. Then on the right-hand side, I've got the Empire State Building, which is also the past but present as well.
Phallic?
Maybe. I never thought about it, but of course when you look at it, but who knows?
But it's such a beautiful building.
It's one of my favourite
Yep,
buildings.
yep.
And in fact, I got this ring from down there.
Right, because it's Art Deco.
Art Deco.
Right.
I bought a few buildings from downstairs around the corner from the Empire State Building because I said, when I go there, I want to get a piece of jewellery.
Yep.
And I got 2 from a crystal store. So that building is sort of modern and past and hopefully for the future. And then I've got some cranes building some imaginary futuristic building. So that one there is that sense of past, present, future. But also then I've got a Madonna in there.
What's she there for?
She's there because...
Are you a good Catholic girl?
No, but maybe I am. So, so the Madonna is actually there because on a trip that I went to my parents' village in Italy, they've got wonderful festivals there all year round.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But a lot of them focus around saints
Religion,
and religion,
Yep.
their religion. And the saints were people who helped them, people that you can look to for help or inspiration or whatever. So I remember there were a lot of festivals that year, and I was having a coffee at Mum's apartment there, and I was about to come back to Melbourne. So I was having a coffee, and then all of a sudden I saw a reflection of like the shape of a Madonna like the sun had hit this cupboard. And I looked at it and I thought, gee, that looks like a Madonna. But I thought, oh, Enza, you've seen so many Madonnas and so many, it's just, coming through like that. And so I looked at it and I thought, no. And I thought, I bet you if I go get a camera, it's going to disappear.
Yeah,
so I thought, just enjoy it, whatever it is, it's appearing to you, this lovely light. So I stood there. And then when I'd had enough, I thought, I'm going to get the camera. So I got the camera, took the photo, and then the room actually went dark because I think the cloud went over the sun. So the room went dark, but she was still there. So I took some photos. So I've got these photos. Anyway, so I thought, oh, that was wonderful, whatever it was. Anyway, so I came back to Melbourne and I thought, what do I want to paint? What's the next thing that I'm going to paint? And I just didn't know. But I remember at the time there were a lot of artists painting reindeers and the horns and everything.
Yep.
And I thought, well, what am I going to put that in my work for? Because I've really got it's got nothing to do with me.
And
So-
don't follow the crowd as well.
Yeah, well, I felt like doing it because on one level you do get pushed by the crowd
Right, okay.
because it's so around you. And
But I don't see that in your work at all. So
No.
you're a liar. You
No,
don't get pushed along by the crowd.
Yeah, but you do, because of late there's been a lot of abstract work and colour work, which I've done before, like that one there, and there's a lot of abstract that I do. But something, when the community is doing it and you've got it in your face, you do get drawn.
Okay.
So I think if it's applicable to you and it's really creating something in you, great. If it's not, then do your own thing. So I'm a bit pushed by both. But with this painting of the Madonna, when I thought, well, what is it that's been on my mind for a long time? And I thought, well, that incident that I had with the Madonna on the cupboard is still in my mind. So I thought, what about if I put the Madonna in the city, which was my thing? And that is a different spiritual aspect to the city because when I go through the city, because I do have a strong spiritual aspect to myself, I walk through the city with those eyes. So I thought, why don't I put a Madonna holding the city? So what I did, I thought, okay. So I did some research on Madonnas, faces and everything. And there was one, and the one that I really liked, and when I went to church, it was St. Teresa. And my auntie Teresa had passed away, so all those things sort of came into my mind. But then I thought, all right, well, I'm not going to use the same face as that Teresa. So I thought, what am I going to do? So I actually went looking through and found all these people who have touched me and pieces of their face.
Oh.
So I remember at the time, Mary Donaldson, Princess of Denmark,
Yeah.
from Tasmania.
Yeah.
I was reading a lot about her, and her eyes were very warm. So I thought, why don't you get Mary Donaldson's eyes and put them on the Madonna? And then I got, I think, the nose and the mouth from different people at the time, and one of them was from Queen Elizabeth's niece. I was looking through Hello magazine, and actually why I used this girl's either face or nose was because at that time I was going through a bit of a hard time and feeling a bit distressed. And I remember I looked at these photos, and just by looking at this girl's face, it was so warm that I thought, oh, and it gave me a bit of strength. And I thought, I'm going to put her mouth or her nose on this Madonna. So the face is made up of all different modern day ladies.
Yeah.
You know?
Fantastic.
Yeah. And so that's sort of the story of that particular artwork.
But the interesting side of that is that, as far as I'm aware, and I know a lot about your art, is that that's the only face that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So why don't you paint faces where you can obviously do them very well? I thought that, you know, like maybe you had a trauma about painting faces and that you never could do it again, because that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing it more?
Well, because I thought I couldn't paint faces. But then I've painted a lot of family members' faces and they've come out good.
Well, hold on. Well, why aren't you doing it?
I don't know.
Oh, come on, Enza.
Yeah, I might try some more because I'm surprised. Because I know there's the Archibald Prize, and I thought, but I'm not a portrait painter, but I might become one.
Hey, you know, like you like to experiment and change along the way, and you're often doing it. I reckon you should start. That should be your next little project.
Maybe I'll do you, David.
Hey, you know, like, that would be a horror movie, wouldn't it? Now let's move. I can't wait to start seeing you start painting faces. Let's start with your obsession with some of the iconic buildings here in St Kilda. Because you live in St Kilda, and your gallery stroke little workshop is here in St Kilda as well. Luna Park, you know, like, and the beautiful theatre across the road from Luna Park. You do a beautiful, and this is where a lot of the whimsical magic comes to play, because it's fairyland at the end of the day, isn't it? And you capture it so well. You really feel that, and you know, like, there's so much to look at, you know, like it's, and then you've done some very small pieces as well with the roller coaster, the scenic railway at the Luna Park, and there's actually people on it, you know, so you've moved away a little bit, but that's a little bit more of a commercial side of you, where your big paintings are very much that whimsical, fairy-like, magical piece of that is that little section of St Kilda. Tell us about it.
Well, with me, I mean, I do like doing little works, but something about me, maybe something performance about me, you know, and maybe the Italian, the
hands,
gesturing and everything. I probably do it's like a performance piece. I make these very large works, and when I do make them, I really like to capture, I feel like I'm in them. So whatever I pick up, it feels like I create my own world. So actually when I'm painting it, it's so divine for me. It's like opening up a book and I'm walking in it. So I just get those things that I pick up from it, and a lot of it is like childlike. Here's a childlike piece on me.
I thought they were lollies you're going to suck on in a minute.
So I think that comes out, but I love to show the building of what it is, because whoever was before us created Luna Park, this magical symbolic piece of, you know, like Turkish rooftops or Moroccan things. So that's already, they've created fantasy for us and an escapism. So they've done such a good job, because every time I walk by, I'm mesmerised. I'm transported.
And when the sun hits it in certain times of the day.
Every time, every different time of the day, at dusk, when those couple of lights coming up. During the day, it might have a different feel, but doesn't matter what time of the day, what mood you're in, coming from work, whatever, You see those buildings, you see Luna Park, you see the Palais Theatre, you see whatever it is, you escape, you enter that feel, that world, and you've had a bit of magic on the way home, and you love it every time.
Yep.
You know, and you come by on the tram and you still look out for it. Still look out for that spot.
Likewise.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yep, yeah. Well, it's the appreciation of what we've got, those iconic buildings. Let's talk about the theatre, because the government spent, because of the general public really put pressure on not so much on the government, but on the council here, and just wanted the theatre to be renovated. They did it. Cost millions of dollars, but wow, how wonderful it is. You paint it from very different angles sometimes, don't you? It's often not front on. There's one that, it's looking across from Luna Park, and it's actually the back of it.
Yeah. That one is because my partner has an apartment at Edgewater Towers.
Yep.
So I've had the fortunate opportunity to see it from a different angle.
Yep.
So from the backside. And that is fantastic as well, because it's like this big...
Huge.
Yeah, you actually see the roof of it. And it's one couple of big round pieces like that. And then the back, which is not so interesting. But interesting, because it's all part of it.
Yeah, but then those beautiful little towers on the front, you can still see one of them.
Yes. Yeah. So it's just seeing it, it's pretty majestic, that building's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're just seeing it from a different angle, because I'm lucky enough to see it from different angles.
Yep.
And so you show it like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of your work has, this is another side of you, the whimsical side, a lot of glitter. There's glitter always thrown onto the canvas or whatever, or onto paper. Why?
That is just the magic. It's the magic. You look at it, again, it just transports you. Such a beautiful little thing that's been invented. And it allows you to feel the mystical, it's another dimension. When you see that, you think, oh, what's that? Glitter. You're a child. It's just another layer, because I look at the city, all the space in different, present, future, past, different feelings, spiritual, and the stories. And it's just something that when I see it, I just all light up. So I just wanted to add that little bit like a fairy dust onto it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, because sometimes it's across the painting, then or other times it's just in one little section. I like it a lot. You've been lucky enough, and I think it's how I got onto you. Marie Coote, the wonderful Marie Coote, who I've interviewed on this show, her book on the art of being Melbourne featured you. What an honour. What an honour.
It was, I'm so glad for that opportunity, and to meet Marie Coote, who's so full of life, full of everything you'd want to know.
So creative.
Isn't she gorgeous?
So creative, yeah.
So we're very happy for that. And also to be featured in this fantastic book on the history of Melbourne through artists of the past, famous artists.
And
then
from beginning of time to now.
To modern time. And it was great to be included in that. And also how that came about was because through my website, and I've had so many opportunities through my website and social media. So I had put my website up there, and a lot of times nothing happens, and then I got this email one day saying that, I'd like to interview you for this book that I'm writing. And I didn't know Marie, and I thought, no worries. People call you for things, fine. And so Marie came, and there she was, this lovely lady, and we just talked about my art, and I showed her stuff. And then what I did, I cleaned up my flat, because it's very small, so it looked great for Marie when she came in. And then she wanted to see the rest of my art, or more of my art. Well, anyway, I had all my art stacked up in my second room with everything chucked in to, get that door shut. So I said, Marie, you don't really want to see my artworks, because what's going to come out of that room is, crazy. So she said, no. Anyway, so I opened the door and Marie looked at this room. Anyway, painting started coming out. And so Marie started taking photos. We talked about the work. And and then Marie wrote the book. I didn't know what it was going to be. And this amazing book. And she included me in with all Australian famous artists. And the book was just so beautiful. It's a real history seen through painting. And we have, we've seen a lot of these artworks, but for it to be put together in this way, to reveal our history through art, these beautiful artworks, and also the way Marie has seen it, it was like, for me, sometimes I don't read a whole book, but of course, because I was in this book, and I read it from the front to the end, of course, and it gave me this wonderful history that I probably didn't know half of it.
Yep.
Through this great book.
Yep.
And so, I love it so much. And then, thank goodness for Marie, because it's so magnificent, she's won all these major prizes, awards for it.
Yep.
So, it's gorgeous.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And like, as I said, what an honour to be part of that.
What an honour.
And it's actually features quite a bit in the front window of your gallery stroke workshop. Why did you decide to open your own little? It's not a big gallery.
No.
It's very small. It's just a small shop
room,
front.
yeah.
And you work out of there as well. Although every time I walk past, you're talking to somebody. Like, that's all you do. I don't think you do any work. You just talk all day. So what made you want to take that plunge and represent yourself?
Well, I think I've always wanted to represent myself. I mean, I would like, if other galleries would sell my work, but at the same time, I am me, and it's like having your own children. So I'm representing my children, myself, and I think it's time. I mean, when you're younger, you're trying to, fit in with everyone. You've got to have an exhibition and all this sort of stuff, and I've done it all, and then I just felt that I just want to show myself. I want to meet people. I want to share of myself, and I want to meet the community, be part of it. And my natural thing and aptitude is to bring people together. And this little shop, I mean, I like talking to people. So from working from home or in a solitary studio, on one level it's great because you're working, but on another level, I want to be with people, and I want to see what comes out from that. So this little shop has been perfect in something else growing as well. So with people that have come into the shop and that have interested me, I wanted to do something with them and work with them and use the shop as a platform for the everyday person that, who's got a voice, or, so whoever's come in, like I've had a wonderful girl walk into my shop, Morgan Ray, and she had just been stuck in lockdown, and then all of a sudden we're all open and she comes out and she just walked into my studio, and she was so interesting and so nice that I said, hey, you're a writer. Do you want to share your writing? Or let's work out something that we can do that I can focus. I can, what's the word where you put someone forward, show someone.
Showcase.
And she was ready to do anything. Yep. So I thought, perfect. So I said, all right, why don't we, and she was doing some interesting stuff. She was so funny. She was doing her own, reading her, she was writing her scripts and then doing a podcast in her wardrobe at home because there's so much noise in St Kilda. And I thought, how hilarious. But she was producing these great little things on the internet. So I said, look, why don't you read your script in here? Let's do a little theatre on a Saturday night. So as people walk by, they'll be able to see you. And so we did that. It was just fantastic because, and also to showcase my artworks.
Yep.
So my room was all done with my art, and she was there, and we had, I bought a little karaoke machine so you could hear it from outside. We got a lovely response. People were out the front. People wanted to talk. We got talking with the people outside. It was like a little party. And I thought, what a beautiful thing for this little area of St Kilda. Then I got to know the neighbours. And then we had then what we actually did one with people that we knew. So we got to read her script with actors, and then the next time they couldn't make it. So what the hell are we going to do now? So she thought, why don't we actually ask for people to volunteer to do it. So that was fantastic. All the people of the neighbourhood wanted to volunteer. So we had another night, and that was fantastic, and people met, and so there's just, you know, a lot of things. And then I've also got another lady coming along who's going to be reading her story, and just different things. Someone who has written music to my artworks about the river. So my large artworks, I got someone to write something that they're picking up about my artwork and the river.
Yep.
And then also I'll have an evening of that where you see where you get to hear the music, and also reading about the Yarra. There'll be someone reading. So it'll be another night.
Yep.
So this little place has just been a little workshop of ideas and interaction with the community, which I can't help myself.
But you'll never stop painting.
No.
It will always
No.
be something you do.
It's always been by my side.
And you've got to start painting portraits.
Okay. I'm going to paint you, David.
No,
You brought
you're
it
not.
up. Yes, I will. And it's going in the
All right.
Archibald.
I'm not famous enough for it to go into the
you are.
Archibald. Enza, thank you so much for
Thank
chatting
you
with
so
us
much,
today.
David. Thank
Okay.
you.
I'm David Hunt, and you've been watching The Art Hunter. And we'll see you again real soon.